Hi, this is Kim Reads Urantia, and I've got Andrew Harvey, Light the Flame, here for you today, May 6th. This is a Sufi prayer. Okay. O Lord, pour down steadfastness upon us. Make our feet firm and grant us victory over the hosts of darkness. Okay, so make me steady, make me firm, make me not be afraid of those enemies that I perceive could hurt me, because they can't, they really can't. If you're in a fight with somebody, they can punch your face and bruise you, whatever, but they can't hurt they can hurt your body, but not your spirit, not your soul. That's the important thing. Grant us victory over the hosts of darkness. Okay. All right. And remember, those dark hosts aren't always what we perceive them to be. So when we're going to fight things, our first weapon is always compassion. Yeah. Okay. Let's go here. Paper number 3, Attributes of God, Part 2, God's Infinite Power. All right. All the universes know that the Lord God, omnipotent, reigns. The affairs of this world and other worlds are divinely supervised. He does according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. It is eternally true. There is no power but of God. Within the bounds of that which is consistent with the divine nature, it is literally true that with God all things are possible. The long drawn out evolutionary processes of peoples, planets, and universes are under the perfect control of the universe creators and administrators and unfold in accordance with the eternal purpose of the Universal Father, proceeding in harmony and order and in keeping with the all-wise plan of God. There is only one lawgiver. He upholds the worlds in space and swings the universes around the endless circle of the eternal circuit. That's amazing. So when we're perceiving chaos in our day-to-day life and just seems like it's nuts, that doesn't make sense, whatever, it's because we can't see, we're not seeing large enough. Usually we're not seeing the whole picture of something. Even people who we look at and see, that's totally nuts, they're operating under their own kind of like logic that makes sense to them and according to fits their experience, whatever that is, whatever the fallacies that they are operating under, yeah. And so sometimes we protect those because we really want something to be true, and so we really protect our misunderstanding, even though we know we don't want to examine this one part of our thinking, because this is kind of like a sacred thing to us for whatever reason. We don't want to examine that. We don't want to crack that open because I'm not going to Everything else is questionable, but not that thing. Because there's some kind of feeling that if this thing were questioned, that would break us entirely because of the intensity of our identification with this one thing we're considering to be true. I feel like, okay, I'm going off on a tangent again, but yeah, the only thing that the place I won't go is the idea that I am something. Oh gosh, how do I say that? I'm something valuable in just myself. I am a unique something, and I can't sacrifice what's me. I don't know. That's hard to put into words, but it's like a sacred part of yourself. Now, that's within my being. But if I put that external to me, like if I believe in, even they make religion or belief in God not to be examined. And I routinely examine my faith in God and what God is, because I don't always know what God is. Whatever I think God is for sure to be more than that. Whatever I could get so I examine my ideas, and see if I'm blocking something there that is, reducing God to something that I can use or something like that. God is more than that. But I have to believe that I'm a unique expression. I am valuable of myself. And oh gosh, there's some new age kind of like theory exercises that tends to attack the self in favor of the whole, and try to dissolve the self into this whole thing. And I can't go for that because myself is myself. Okay, and that's the only part of myself that's mine. I mean, that's, I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to keep reading. I don't know why I got off on all that. Of all the divine attributes, his omnipotence, especially as it prevails in the material universe, is the best understood. Viewed as an unspiritual phenomenon, God is energy. This declaration of physical fact is predicated on the incomprehensible truth that the first source and center is the primal cause of the universal physical phenomena of all space. From this divine activity, all physical energy and other material manifestations are derived. That is light without heat, is another of the non-spiritual manifestations of the deities. And there is still another form of non-spiritual energy which is virtually unknown on Urantia. It is as yet unrecognized. So there's a little clue, little mystery right there. Ooh, something's coming. We have to try to find this non-spiritual energy that is unrecognized. I think they're talking about, because this was back in the 30s, they're talking about the dark matter. Okay, which there's a lot of research going on here about the dark matter. And this is non-spiritual energy. Light without heat, another of the non-spiritual manifestations of the deities. So it's heat that gives light this, destructive kind of capacity. The heat can be, breaks things down. But light without heat, I don't know, what I was thinking. Photosynthesis. Okay, that's light without, that uses light to build, to create more complex molecules and, formations within a plant, and you know what I mean? Okay, so that's creative. Wow. Okay, so light can be destructive if it has heat because it breaks things down into their component parts. But without heat, it's only constructive. Because there's reactions in our body that are light sensitive and use photons energy to build more complex molecules and reactions and structures within our body. Okay, all right, I'm just going. Okay, God controls all power. He has made a way for the lightning. He has ordained the circuits of all energy. He has decreed the time and manner of the manifestation of all forms of energy matter. And all these things are held forever in his everlasting grasp, in the gravitational control centering on nether paradise. The light and energy of the eternal God thus swing on forever around his majestic circuit, the endless but orderly procession of the starry hosts composing the universe of universes. All creation circles eternally around the paradise personality center of all things and beings. Circles is the verb there. All creation circles eternally around the paradise personality center of all things and beings. So this is not only a material gravity circuit, it's energy circuits all around this. The center is paradise. The omnipotence of the Father pertains to the everywhere dominance of the absolute level, whereon the three energies, material, mindal, and spiritual, are indistinguishable in close proximity to him, the source of all things. So all in mindal, they use this word mindal, which to me, why wouldn't they use the word mental? We already have the word mental, but maybe there's negative connotations to that word in the 30s, like, I don't know, mental, are you mental or something like that. That they didn't want to, but they chose to use this word mindal, like of the mind. Okay, the source of all things. Creature mind, being neither paradise monota nor paradise spirit, is not directly responsive to the universal Father. God adjusts with the mind of imperfection, with Urantia mortals, through the thought adjusters. So to reach our minds, God uses the pre-personal thought adjusters. The universal Father is not a transient force, a shifting power, or a fluctuating energy. The power and wisdom of the Father are wholly adequate to cope with any and all universe exigencies. As the emergencies of human experience arise, he has foreseen them all. He has foreseen them all, and therefore he does not react to the affairs of the universe in a detached way, but rather in accordance with the dictates of eternal wisdom and in consonance with the mandates of infinite judgment. Regardless of appearances, the power of God is not functioning in the universe as a blind force. That's very reassuring, because he knows everything about us, so that he understands our motivation, and he judges according to that. Okay. Yes. Situations do arise in which it appears that emergency rulings have been made, that natural laws have been suspended, that misadaptations have been recognized and that an effort is being made to rectify the situation. But such is not the case. Okay, so yeah. Such concepts of God have their origin in the limited range of your viewpoint and in the circumscribed scope of your survey. Such misunderstanding of God is due to the profound ignorance you enjoy regarding we enjoy our ignorance is bliss, right? The profound ignorance you enjoy regarding the existence of the higher laws of the realm, the magnitude of the Father's character, the infinity of his attributes, and the fact of his free willness. Free willness. Okay. So we don't, there might seem to be like, oh, why is this, God must favor this person over here because they're getting rewards for not hardly doing anything, and this person here is working their tail off, and they're, all these bad things are heaping on them. Okay, so that's not, it's not that God likes somebody else or isn't judging something here, or that's not because, such a person has lived all these other lives and has earned their wealth in other existences. No, that's not really it. It's just all part of, we want to find explanations for these things, and we can't really, and we have to just resign ourselves. This is bigger than what we can understand. Okay. The planetary creatures of God's spirit indwelling, scattered hither and yon throughout the universes of space, are so nearly infinite in number and order. Their intellects are so diverse, their minds are so limited and sometimes so gross, their vision is so curtailed and localized that it is almost impossible to formulate generalizations of law adequately expressive of the Father's infinite attributes, and at the same time to any degree comprehensible to these created intelligences. Because their sight is so limited, their minds are so limited and so gross. We have gross minds. Gross being just like when I think of that, we think in patterns that are just big, large vibrational patterns that don't acclimate easily to differences in circumstance or some things like that. Our minds are gross. Therefore, to you, the creature, many of the acts of the all-powerful Creator seem to be arbitrary, detached, and not infrequently heartless and cruel. And it seemed like that a lot early in my development. I didn't understand a lot of things. But again, I assure you that this is not true. God's doings are all purposeful, intelligent, wise, kind, and eternally considerate of the best good, not always of an individual being, an individual race, an individual planet, or even an individual universe, but they are for the welfare and best good of all concerned, from the lowest to the highest. In the epochs of time, the welfare of the part may sometimes appear to differ from the welfare of the whole. In the circle of eternity, such apparent differences are non-existent. Okay, I can feel that. I understand that. We are all a part of the family of God, and we must therefore sometimes share in the family discipline. Many of the acts of God which so disturb and confuse us are the result of the decisions and final rulings of all wisdom, empowering the conjoint actor to execute the choosing of the infallible will of the infinite mind. Right, because it's to enforce the decisions of the personality of perfection, whose survey, vision, and solicitude embrace the highest and eternal welfare of all his vast and far-flung creation. Okay, so the conjoined actor, of course, means the infinite spirit. So, many of the acts of God which so disturb and confuse us are the result of the decisions and final rulings of all wisdom, empowering the conjoint actor to execute this. So the Holy Spirit acts through the angels and the celestial beings upon the will of God. Okay, out in the right. Okay, sorry, excuse me. Thus it is that your detached, sectional, finite, gross, and highly materialistic viewpoint of the limitations inherent in the nature of your being constitutes such a handicap that you are unable to see, comprehend, or know the wisdom and kindness of many of the divine acts, which to you seem fraught with such crushing cruelty, and which seem to be characterized by such utter indifference to the comfort and welfare, to the planetary happiness and personal prosperity of your fellow creatures. I feel like that. I've felt like that crushing cruelty from God. It's like, why do all these people suffer so needlessly? But it's so much bigger than that. And because God allows us free will, he's giving us opportunity to correct the situation and to see that we're so much bigger, so much more capable. And that's part of becoming God-like ourselves, is that we're able to correct these situations. Yeah. Yep. Utter indifference to the comfort and welfare, to the planetary happiness and personal prosperity of our fellow creatures. It is because of the limits of human vision. It is because of your circumscribed understanding and finite comprehension that you misunderstand the motives and pervert the purposes of God. But many things occur on the evolutionary worlds which are not the personal doings of the universal Father. Okay, so most of these things, I think we do this to ourselves. And then good people stand by silently and just watch a few bad people do some very bad things to a great many of our fellow people, so that so and a lot of us people saying, oh yeah, we just stand by and watch that, and that's a sin too. The people that could have stopped that but didn't, could have stood up and said, no, this is not okay, but didn't do that. That's complicity. That's sharing in that crime. Yeah. The divine omnipotence is perfectly coordinated with the other attributes of the personality of God. The power of God is ordinarily only limited in its universe spiritual manifestation by three conditions or situations. One, by the nature of God, especially by his infinite love, by truth, beauty, and goodness. Two, by the will of God, by his mercy ministry and fatherly relationship with the personalities of the universe. Three, by the law of God, by the righteousness and justice of the eternal paradise Trinity. Okay. So these three things limit the power of God. So God does not have the ability to do anything bad. And because God is goodness by the nature of God. God is limited by his own will. So you know what I mean? He does what he wants to do, right? By his fatherly relationship, because he wants to be a father, to us. By the law of God. So God is limited by his own laws, by righteousness and justice of the eternal paradise Trinity. So that's, to me, I read that as that God subjects himself to his own law that he gives to all the, which is totally correct. And you see so many of our lawmakers, they kind of like exempt themselves from the law, even though they know they're not supposed to do that, right? No man is above the law, right? Isn't this part of what our country is founded on? But law is distributed. It's not very equitable in its consequences, I guess. But God holds God's self to the law that God creates for us. So that's comforting. Okay, God is unlimited in power, divine in nature, final in will, infinite in attributes, eternal in wisdom, and absolute in reality. But all these characteristics of the universal Father are unified in deity and universally expressed in the Paradise Trinity and in the divine sons of the Trinity. Otherwise, outside of paradise and the central universe of Habona, everything pertaining to God is limited by the evolutionary presence of the Supreme, right? Conditioned by the eventuating presence of the ultimate and coordinated by the three existential absolutes, deity, universal, and unqualified. And God's presence is thus limited because such is the will of God. God's presence is limited. So this by the Supreme and the ultimate. So everything pertaining to God is limited by the evolution of the Supreme and the ultimate. Okay. And I suppose the absolute. Okay. So that justice appears to be evolving here. This equanimity of that we desire here is evolving, and the what I think of as the machinery that provides the energy for this evolution consists of the deity absolute, the universal absolute, and the unqualified absolute. This generation of new potentials and actions, and then consequences, and then new potentials. This is a cycle here that underlies here, that gives energy to this process of evolution, evolving the God the Supreme and God the Ultimate. Okay, I think that's great. I think I'll stop there. And thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Again, bye.